Women over 40, are you asking yourself, why is my hair falling out? One day your hair is flourishing, your curls are popping, your locks are bouncing and behaving, and the next day you're noticing thinning, shedding, or just changes that you were not expecting. If this sounds familiar, keep watching. This video is absolutely for you. I'm Dr. Janet, board-certified obstetrician gynecologist, hypnotherapist, menopause, and intimate health coach. I'm the creator of the Confident Pleasure Program, the holistic solution for professional women over 40 navigating libido, desire, and intimate health issues during perimenopause and menopause. I help you fire up your desire and leave your symptoms in the past so you can design a sensual life of pleasure that's built to last. In today's video, you're going to learn exactly why hair loss happens in perimenopause and menopause, how hormones affect the hair growth cycle, what you can do to slow things down or stop the shedding, and some of the treatment options, both medical and behavioral, that may actually help. Before we jump in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who you know needs this information, someone who's been struggling with hair loss. When you subscribe to this channel, it not only helps you, but it also helps women who are looking for this information to find the information and get the help and support that they need. Hair changes in midlife are common. And there's usually not just one single cause. One of the biggest reasons is hormonal changes. As we move through perimenopause and menopause, our estrogen levels drop. Testosterone levels also drop over time, but usually not quite as sharply as estrogen levels do. So what that means is that you may end up having more testosterone or androgenic hormones in the body compared to the estrogen in the body. And that's even if the testosterone isn't technically high. And when we have that shift in that hormone balance, that may actually affect the hair follicles, especially if you have a genetic sensitivity or predisposition to it. But hormones are not the only thing that is involved with hair loss. Things like stress, illness, weight loss, thyroid problems, low iron, certain medications, nutritional issues, scalp inflammation, as well as genetics all can play a role in hair loss. So when one of my patients or clients tells me that they're losing hair around the time of menopause or perimenopause, I don't just assume it's related to these things. We have to look at the full picture. Menopause may be a part of the process, but we still want to think more broadly. There are two very common causes of hair loss during midlife. There's female pattern hair loss and telogen effluvium. Female pattern hair loss is kind of the gradual hair loss that we see, where we see thinning around the crown of the head, and it may show up like a widening of the middle part. Usually the front hairline stays in place, and it tends to be more thinning rather than complete balding. This is the type of hair thinning that's often related to genetics and hormones and how sensitive your follicles are to those androgen or testosterone levels. Telogen effluvium is more of a sudden shedding pattern. And this we'll see a lot of times after a major stressor. If you've got illness or surgery, significant emotional stress, rapid weight loss, or changes in medication. But the thing is, both can actually happen together. Both of those different types of hair loss can kind of overlap and show up very significantly. So if a woman already has some mild female pattern hair loss, then there's a suddenly stressful event that occurs and triggers the other type of hair loss, telogen effluvium, then suddenly that hair loss and hair thinning becomes more prominent and more obvious and more extreme. So what is the basic mechanism? How does hair loss actually work? Let's keep it simple. Your hair grows in different cycles. At any given time, they're in a different hair cycle. So there's a growth phase, there is a transition phase, and a resting or shedding phase. Normally, most hairs are in the growth phase. In female pattern hair loss, there's a couple of things that happen. That growth phase gets a little bit shorter. That means your hair doesn't stay in the active growth period for the same amount of time anymore. The follicles, the opening where the hair comes out of, those actually get smaller. And that means that some of your thick hair will get replaced by thinner hairs. And these hairs are thinner, they're finer, they're shorter, and they're often weaker. So it's not always the follicle that's completely gone. It still may be there, but may be producing a very thin, different type of strand hair. And then there may be a delay in the time from when that active phase stops and the new growth phase starts. So after the hair sheds, it takes a lot longer for that follicle to reproduce a new hair and get back into the growth mode. And so that combination means less hair growth and more hair loss. So how does this work into perimenopause and menopause and the hormone estrogen? We think that estrogen likely has a protective effect on hair in many women. And you can see that in women who are pregnant where estrogen levels are very high, and we see the hair growing and flourishing during pregnancy. Then after pregnancy, when those estrogen levels drop way back down low, especially when you're breastfeeding, we can see that there's a lot of hair shedding that takes place during this time period. But the interesting thing is that estrogen therapy with menopausal hormone therapy doesn't always help the hair to recover and stop that shedding. So we know that estrogen is a part of the picture, but it's not the full answer. So what role do androgens or hormones like testosterone play? We know that androgens, especially dihydrotestosterone or DHT, can affect hair follicles. And in scalp follicles that are sensitive to androgens, DHT can contribute to shortening of the growth phase, shrinking in the follicle, and making hair thinner over time. And that's why some of these anti-androgen treatments can actually help women. But not all women who have female pattern hair loss have high androgens. And that really tells us that it may not just be the level of androgen or testosterone in the blood, but the sensitivity of that follicle to those hormones. And that's why some women will get scalp hair thinning, some will get rogue chin hairs or facial hairs or hairs where we're not accustomed to seeing them. So there are a number of treatments that we can use to help this hair loss and shedding. The most common treatment options are topical minoxidil. Now this is a big one, and it's the only FDA approved treatment for female pattern hair loss. It works as a growth promoter and encourages the follicles to stay in that growth mode a little bit longer. It usually takes quite a while, 4 to 6 months, before it actually does its thing. Another option is an anti-androgen medication like spironolactone. And this is commonly used off-label. Spironolactone works by blocking androgen effects at the receptor level, and it also reduces androgen production to some extent. So simply put, it helps reduce the hormonal signals that can push susceptible scalp follicles toward thinning. And this can be especially helpful when hair loss is happening along with signs of androgen excess, like acne, oily skin, increased facial hair. All of those things are signs of androgen excess. It's not right for everybody, but would be something that would require medical supervision. Finasteride is another off-label option for women. It basically helps to reduce the amount of shrinking of the follicles that takes place, so helping to keep the size of the follicles the same and the thickness of the hair the same. Again, this is kind of off-label. It's not FDA approved for women, but it is an option that you could consider with your healthcare professional. A few of the other options that may be available are platelet-rich plasma, antifungal shampoo, camouflage fibers and certain styling techniques, and in some cases, hair transplantation. Let's talk about a few of the things that you can do in everyday life to minimize the shedding. Now, these aren't magic fixes, but they can help to support your scalp, your follicles, and your overall hair health. Number one, get evaluated. Go get some help. Talk to a medical professional about this. If you're having significant hair loss, you want to make sure that there's not some underlying medical issue going on and you're not just grabbing random supplements from, the health food store. You might want to be evaluated for thyroid issues, iron or zinc deficiency, medication side effects, or other illnesses related to shedding. And then, of course, the androgen excess. Yeah, because if any of those are the reasons why, we want to go ahead and address those issues first. You want to decrease major stressors where you can in your life. This is a big one. Stress can really trigger that other type of hair loss, the telogen effluvium. And this is the shedding event that we'll see usually a few months after the stressful event occurs. So minimizing the stress and avoiding those very stressful situations can help to prevent this type of hair loss from being triggered. This may look like getting better sleep, taking a walk, breath work, hypnosis, my favorite, meditation, another great one, saying no when you need to say no, and not running yourself into the ground day after day, week after week, month after month. Your body knows, it listens, and sometimes it's our hair where these things show up. Also, be gentle with the scalp. Avoid excess tension on the hair. I know a lot of us use these protective styles, but when our edges are pulled back really tightly, when your braids are too tight, that can be stressful to the scalp as well. Avoiding chemicals and severe heat on the hair can be helpful as well. Having a healthy scalp can help to reduce the inflammation that can also lead to problems with the hair. One more important point is that not all hair loss is the same. There are some types of hair loss, like frontal fibrosing alopecia, which can lead to permanent scarring and hair loss. That one tends to show up more commonly in postmenopausal women and can involve receding frontal hairlines, loss of your eyebrows, and signs of inflammation around the hair follicles. So, any case, when you're having this hair loss and hair shedding, it's better to get evaluated sooner than later. Hair loss in perimenopause and menopause is most of the time multifactorial. Many different reasons for why we see this hair shedding. Hormonal factors do matter, especially with regard to the ratio of estrogen versus testosterone. When that testosterone or androgen gets a little bit higher, we're prone to certain types of hair shedding. If you've been struggling with hair loss or hair shedding, I want you to know you're not being vain. Hair loss can affect our confidence, our body image, and our emotional health in a very real way. If you're a professional woman over 40 and you're navigating symptoms of perimenopause and menopause, symptoms like low libido, hair loss, changes in your weight, belly fat, any of the shifts that often come with this season of life, and you're ready to feel like yourself again, to reignite your desire and design a life of pleasure for now and for the years to come. Click the link somewhere around this video to learn more about my 3-step system helping women over 40 to revive their desire, reawaken that desire, and enjoy deep and fulfilling intimacy again. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.